Welcome to Live in Gratitude Daily on Global Voice Radio, a show which inspires, motivates, and transforms through sharing real-life stories of gratitude. Here is your host, Denise Joy. Hello, this is Denise Joy Thompson. I'm the compiler and primary author of Live in Gratitude Daily, and I am the host of Live in Gratitude Daily on Global Voice Radio. And today I have Dr. Minette Riordan, who is one of the co-authors of Live in Gratitude Daily. She is also a great friend, colleague, mentor, and coach of mine, let alone providing support, guidance, mentorship, love, creativity to women and men around the world. I really cannot say enough about Minette, and she knows how much I respect her guidance, her support, and that I am very grateful and blessed that she is a part of my life. So of course, I'm so excited, Minette, that you are here with me today for us to talk about gratitude. And you are a contributing author of Live in Gratitude Daily for January 13th. And you have a most valuable lesson in what you wrote. Because I think oftentimes when we think about gratitude, we might have difficulty being grateful for what we have today, let alone what we would like to see come into our life. So, Minette, if you would like to share a little bit about yourself, so our readers know more about you, and then we'll talk about gratitude.
Awesome. Well, first, thank you so much for that lovely introduction and just for having me on the show today. I'm super, super appreciative and so excited for everything that you're creating with Living Gratitude Daily, with the book, the radio show with Global Voice Radio Network. It's an honor and a privilege to be a part of it. And I am super grateful for having you in my life. You brought tears to my eyes listening. So right back at you, and I think that you are such a beautiful model of living in gratitude daily. And so thank you for the work that you're doing. I think it's so, so important. And it's a big part of what I teach as a business coach, right? So how I help people is I teach creative women entrepreneurs to build profitable businesses. And it's an inside out process. Being a business owner is a transformational journey, as you and I are both learning and growing through this process together. It requires a lot of action in the real world, but I think it also requires living in gratitude in each and every moment. In fact, I had some real awareness this week. We launched a new program and the sales weren't coming in as quickly as we wanted them to. And I realized I was trying so hard to figure out what do I need to do differently to get more people flowing in, that I forgot to pause and do something so important, which was to express gratitude to the people that did say yes in the moment, and just to feel that moment of celebration and gratitude for the people who have joined this new program. And gratitude is an important part of everything we do. It's part of our profit planning system. It's part of our money meditation and mandalas process. It's part of my own personal journey and process. And yet it's so easy to get distracted and forget on a day-to-day basis to just, it takes 30 seconds, right? To just pause and say, what's one thing I can express gratitude for right now?
One of the things that you said struck me and is so important, not only to business women, but to anyone, is to pause, especially when things are not going quite the way we would like them to do. It's not meeting the idea that we've created in our mind about how we would like something to be. Mm-hmm. And it's taking that 30 seconds and saying thank you to whatever we have flowing in at that moment.
It's so
And
true.
then we're in such a better mood and we feel better about ourselves, the process, the project, whatever it is that's going on in that day. And so I think that saying that and having people hear that and hopefully having that aha moment of, yes, I am going to be thankful for, oftentimes for me, it's the fact that the sun came up, right? Or that it's not 30 below zero. There's
Right.
always something in that moment.
Yeah, it's so true. I love that. And what I love about the Live in Gratitude Daily Journal is that each day takes moments to just read the entry. And even if you just take a moment to write on that page, I am grateful today. You don't even have to name a specific thing that you're grateful for, but just saying, I choose gratitude today. But as you were talking, I remembered a silly story about how I really try to practice what it is that I preach. And I was out for a bike ride by myself, and I rode past a very bright, shiny dime lying on the road. And I saw it and I noticed it, and I started to ride by, and I literally made a circle around, came full circle and came back, got off my bicycle and picked up this beautiful, bright, shiny dime. Because it's abundance flowing in. And sometimes we overlook some of that abundance because we're focused on the big picture or what difference is a dime going to make. And for me, it's an energetic shift. It's a prayerful, mindful shift to say, oh, wow, here's 10 cents. And oh, look, there's a penny over there. And oh, wow, today I found $1 or I got an unexpected windfall in the mail. So even something as simple as pausing to pick up the penny in the parking lot at the grocery store can just help you shift your consciousness to that place of celebrating every penny flowing in.
Well, as you were recounting that story, I remember, and it's about a year ago, I was at one of your events, and your challenge to us, because often women focus on we don't have money. We often focus on lack. And I know that's one of the things that you and I teach is there is no competition and there is no lack in the world. And so you challenge us to come home and to see what we could find in regards to the monetary abundance in our house.
Yeah.
We talked about check the laundry, check drawers, check your car, right? We all put change in our console. And so I came home and I did that. And it was sort of fun, right? Oh, where am I going to find a penny? Where am I going to find a quarter? Where am I going to find $1? And I think I ended up finding, and plus I had a jar where I had coins, and I think I had $150.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
So, I took the coins to the bank and the money, came out in dollars. And sometimes it was like, wait a minute, I didn't even know that, right? I was overlooking, and probably other women from your event who also went home, we were overlooking in some ways what was right in front of us.
Yeah. And gift cards are another one, right? That's always one of the fun ones, is to look at all the gift cards you have lying around that you have never used or about to expire. I have an amazing massage therapist here in Santa Barbara. And this is so sad, right? So in the December, I think, of 2016, she'd had a special deal where it was buy 3 massages, right? And get her price. And so get a really good deal. So I bought 3 massages. And on the 1st of December of 2017, I get the email and the phone call and the note in the mail saying, Minette, you haven't used those massages. And she could have not followed up with me. And I so honored and valued her integrity in saying, I want you to use this. So I got 2 amazing 90-minute massages in December, right? And it's what happened? Like, where was the thoughtfulness, or where was my lack of gratitude for myself, taking that time out for a little self-care and kindness and compassion to myself, as well as honoring the money that I invested in myself, right? And so sometimes I think when we first moved here, lots of people gave us gift cards, right? So I had Bed Bath & Beyond and Home Depot, and we were shopping at these places daily. We had a brand new house. We needed all kinds of new things. Did I remember to take the gift cards? No. And so it's lack of appreciation and honoring of people who are giving us gifts or the gifts that we're giving to ourselves. So it's that focusing in on what's right in front of you is so powerful. I think I love the money jar story when my stepfather passed away a few years ago and we were cleaning out his home. And he had a Cookie Monster cookie jar full of money. And in every cupboard and cabinet, because he didn't like coins in his pockets, were old coffee cans, metal Folgers coffee cans full of coins, coffee mugs full of coins. I think my brother and I got $350, right, in cash from the bank. And so to honor my stepfather who loved great food, we went out and had a beautiful dinner and a gorgeous bottle of wine and celebrated with that money as well, right? So not just changing in the coins for money, but spend the money, right? A part of the practice of abundance is spending the money, not holding on so tightly, but putting money back into flow into the world. Because I always also like to say that every dollar we spend supports someone. Like right now, if anybody's following the national news, it's January of 2018. Whenever you're listening to this, we're having horrible mudslides in Montecito, California, about 15 miles from where I live. The main highway in and out of the area to the south is closed, and local businesses are hurting, right? All the tourist traffic that normally flows into the Santa Barbara area, they can't get here. Employees can't get to work. So all these things are happening. And so someone had posted on Facebook yesterday about it's hard to go out and celebrate right now. And January 13th is my birthday. It's hard to go out and celebrate. And at the same time, remembering that every dollar you spend in your local community has huge impact on the people of your community. So remembering to keep money in flow can also help you stay focused on that moment of gratitude and just being open to receiving abundance.
You know, when we talk about live in gratitude daily, the premise of the book was to help people to understand when we have gratitude as much as we can every day, that gratitude is the key to abundance, joy, and love. Yeah. Because when we are not grateful for what we have, as you said, every penny, dime, quarter, and everything coming in, when we are grateful for that, the energy, the vibration, when we share what we have because we do not have that sense of lack, it creates more of what we want. We are open to receiving, and God's Spirit universe hears that. Others see it. They experience our vibration. And so when we're bringing people along with us, right, when we're bringing people into that energetic field of our gratitude, then that flow continues. It's that ripple effect, that continuum. And even when you and I and the other women are in the same room, when other like-minded, heart-centered, spirit-led people are in the same room, I mean, we are just alive. And I'm sure if we have one of those PET scans or other scans to look at our brain activity and what is going on, it would be amazing when you would compare that to those individuals who are not yet at the place to be grateful for themselves and for others.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just adding on to that. So I love the collective energy. You see that in the Living Gratitude Daily Facebook group, right? So there's so many ways to tap into that collective energy in person, as well as online. But I think I want to say something about how this whole concept of abundance isn't about getting rich, right? It isn't about how much money you have or don't have. Some of the happiest, most grateful people are the ones who are just working a job that they love, right? And they're just maybe making ends meet or even living paycheck to paycheck, but they are so grateful for what they do have. So this is not a numbers game. It is not about how much you have or how much you don't have. It's just being really present to all the things that you have to be grateful for right now in the moment. And at the same time, being very conscious of what it is that you do have. A big part of what we teach at the Path to Profit Academy is to fall in love with your numbers. We can talk about abundance all day long and get really abstract about the flow and the creativity and the energy of money. But at the end of the day, it's equally important. You need to know your numbers. You need to fall in love with your numbers. You need to look at your numbers on a regular basis. Do I do this as faithfully as I should and as I tell others to? No, right? Numbers aren't my favorite thing. Painting is my favorite thing, right? So it's just that noticing, where can we do a better job of increasing gratitude and energy around money just by focusing on what we do have.
And I think the idea of abundance is not that we only think about abundance in regards to money and finances. I mean,
absolutely,
as business owners, we need to know and look at our numbers. But abundance can be anything that we have in our life. As you said, it's not a monetary number for every single person.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how many children that every family has. It's not the fact that somebody has a spouse.
Yeah.
It is unique to each person on how they view what they have, and that is abundance to them. But first, we have to know that we don't have to have everything that everybody else has, right? It's not keeping up with the Joneses. It's not being like the Smiths. It's not having what everybody else has. The other day I mentioned, we know that people who win the lottery, we know that they end up bankrupt, they end up depressed, they end up being addicted to substances. Now, not everyone, but we would think, and I will admit, I would like to win the lottery and prove them wrong.
Me too.
Let's buy a ticket and we win and we would prove them wrong. But we would think anyone winning millions of dollars would figure out how to be happy with it. And the reverse is true, that there are those who are not happy. So it's not about money, but money is okay to have.
Yes.
And it's okay to know our numbers so that we can be comfortable. And the other thing I know is when we have abundance in our life, and that can include money, we're able to give more to others and others to be successful.
It's so true. I had an interesting conversation with one of my clients yesterday who had this moment of realization around her money mindset that, money is not the driver for a lot of us in our businesses. It's not why we got into business. And she had this moment of going, I don't need to be rich in order to have some lifestyle or luxury car. It's not the trappings of wealth that she's looking for, but the lifestyle, the freedom, it's what the money can do for others in her community. So really getting crystal clear about what is your relationship with money. It's something we work on a lot in our programs is money mindset and really looking at what are the stories you're telling yourself around money. Sometimes one of our mutual friends, Rebecca Hall Greider, I remember her standing up on stage one time at one of her events and saying, that she was replacing the word abundance with money and that she was really making a stand for replacing abundance with money because we can so easily get caught up in our stories around money being wrong, bad, evil, the cause of all the ills in the world. And a lot of us grew up with parents who didn't have healthy relationships with money and didn't know how to model that for us. And so it's our responsibility to just look honestly at that relationship with money. And we can rewrite that story anytime, right? And the Live in Gratitude Daily book can help you rewrite that story by just staying conscious of what it is that you do have to be grateful for in every moment.
Well, you mentioned what Rebecca says about money, and she helps hundreds of women deal with their money story also, so just like you. And I had a colleague talk about healthy wealth.
Mm-hmm.
That we as individuals, communities, states, our country are building healthy wealth through businesses, there can be less people who are acquiring wealth, money, through criminal activity because
Mm-hmm.
there's less of a need possibly, right? So if we're acquiring wealth in a way that's healthy and we're sharing it with our communities and people have jobs and people are able to pay their bills, then it might not be as negative when people are stealing or they're dealing drugs or they're doing other things, because we as a collective, as a community, are helping people to build businesses or to have jobs.
Yeah.
And so yes, money is not the root of all evil.
No. People are the root of all evil and all goodness, right? All goodness. And most of us are some crazy blend of both. But I love that idea that the more we make, the more we get to serve. And oftentimes we think that we don't have enough money to be generous, but I'm a big believer in the more generous you are, the more it will come back to you. So if you have $1 and you give away 10 cents, it feels so good. If you have $10 and you give away $1, it feels so good. I had a homeless man approach me in a parking lot at Santa Barbara one time asking me if I had any cash. And I literally had a dime in my pocket, and he was so sweet. He said, "I would not take your only dime." Right. And so it was this most interesting exchange about people's perception around money and what they have and what they're willing to give and what they're willing to receive. So I think, just inviting those of you who are listening to this or watching the video to really take a moment to pause and think about, how do you feel about money? What is your relationship with money? And ask yourself some of those hard questions about what you currently believe about money and what would you like to believe about money, because you can, like I said, you can totally rewrite those stories.
And when we start looking at our thoughts, our relationship with money, we can realize how much we value ourselves,
Yes.
or how much we don't value ourselves because of the finances and the numbers. The other thing that comes into play is we can be grateful for ourselves, right? For our mind, body, spirit, regardless of what is in our bank account.
Yes.
And going back to that fundamental perspective of creating gratitude regardless of anything that we have in our house, when we just think about who we are as an individual, our makeup, right? Sometimes the fact that we put on makeup, right? We want to enhance our natural beauty.
I put on makeup for you today.
We're not creating something or enhancing something that's not already there, right?
Yeah.
I comb my hair. I'm grateful that I have hair to comb, but it's still enhancing what I already have. If I put on some makeup, it's enhancing what I already have. The same way with clothing, right? When I put on clothing, it enhances what I already have, and it makes it a lot easier to be on video or to go out in the public. Right. So we can be grateful for what is underneath all of that. And it's almost like, when we see those pictures of the human body without the skin.
Yeah.
And if we are grateful for the fact that we have our skeleton system, right? That we have our organs, that we have our muscles, that we have everything that makes us who we are. And so it's almost like stripping away everything and being grateful for our very being. That is where gratitude can start. And then it flows into recognizing, being grateful for every level of abundance and everything that we have in our life.
Yeah. So true. I have an abundance of love. I have an abundance of friends. I have an abundance of pens. I'm a bit of a pen addict. But if you look around, where do you have an abundance? I have an abundance of love for my kitty, right? Who walked across the video. If you're listening to this, you didn't see her, but she walked right through the video earlier. So I love that perspective of being really focusing on abundance from the inside out. part of my own personal practice for 2018 is more gratitude and kindness towards myself. And part of that practice is looking in the mirror and saying, I'm grateful for these strong legs that carry me through every day. I'm grateful for this big heart that beats and keeps me going. I'm grateful for my thoughts and my ability to communicate. I'm grateful for my hands and my daughter who paints my nails crazy colors, right? Just every tiny little thing. I think it just, I think you said this at the very beginning, but spending even 30 seconds focusing on gratitude can instantly shift how we're feeling about ourselves, how we're feeling about our day, how we're feeling about where we're going. And from that place of gratitude, then taking inspired action, just simply asking ourselves, I am so grateful for whatever. And then saying, what's one action I could take to even feel better, to even feel more grateful, and then trusting and following that action.
Mm-hmm. So, Minette, one of the things I also wanted to talk about with you, or actually have you share, is talking about your creativity, talking about your art. I love your art. I love your creativity. That was one of the things that I was drawn to, because my stick figures don't even look like stick figures.
Mine don't either. I'm getting better at stick figures.
And actually, I want to tell this story and something that you brought into my life, because I was refusing to do it. And there was a lack of color in my life. And I had written about this a while ago. But one of the things that I had been avoiding was coloring. Right? The adult coloring books, the mandalas. And I was actually, and as a therapist, I shouldn't have had necessarily this strong of a reaction to people coloring for their anxiety, right? But for whatever reason, and it was my own personal reason, so it's something that I had to focus, to look at, was, well, I'm not going to color those mandalas. I don't want to. It's not. I mean, it was making me more anxious thinking about coloring a mandala. And, because I think as a child, and even as doing play therapy, and I sort of got over it, because it's okay that the kids could never figure out what I drew or colored, because it was their therapy, right? They didn't have to know, yes, that was a dog. Mm-hmm. And but it was almost like part of me wasn't allowing myself to be colorful. And for those of you who are going to watch a video, even with what I'm wearing, I now choose colors. I choose to be vibrant. I choose to share that side of me. And one of the things that drew me to you was your creativity, was your fun, was your flowing, because that part of me wanted that. And even now, looking at your art behind you, and the woman in purple, which purple is one of my favorite colors, and you posted her the other day, and it's like I'm looking at myself. That I was drawn to that. It was like, and to me, and I'm not sure you meant this effect, I almost saw tears on her face. And and I was, and I thought that was, and her eyes are closed and there's some tears, but she's still very colorful. And so to me, it's almost like this coming out. And so at your event a year ago or so, I colored my first mandala. And so I now have some other pencils and pens around the house. And
it's addictive.
And in the 2018 version of Live in Gratitude Daily, the mandalas that you, your son Connor, and you have created are included in our book. And I hope that people will, color those and feel free to doodle on the pages and make this your personal journal. But your art, your creativity, and what you share through that is so important. And so I'd like to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about that.
Thanks. I love that. And I'll never forget you standing up at our event last spring going, I hate mandalas. And I think it was late into day 2 of a 3-day event where you gave yourself permission to start coloring. And then the one that you created by the end was so beautiful and so colorful. And I want to acknowledge you for just saying that and sharing so vulnerably about that, because it was a beautiful moment and a difficult moment to stand up and really freely share that. But I think so many people feel the same way, including me. As a child, I was told I couldn't draw. I was told I couldn't paint, right? And if I had had different teachers and mentors along the way who'd really nurtured my creativity, my career path might have been completely different than it ended up being. And I've gone through phases in my life where I was very creative. I also love writing and poetry. I have a doctorate in Latin American poetry. And so there's very much a wordy, intellectual, academic part of me, but this creativity kept sort of popping up. But I would often channel it maybe at the holidays, and I would make homemade Christmas presents or homemade note cards. And I didn't really give myself a lot of permission to be creative. Even when I started my first company, which was a parenting magazine, I didn't allow myself to write or create for my own magazine. I made lots of space for other people to do that. And I guess maybe in 2007, 2008, I discovered a process called Zentangle, which is this beautiful meditative process of just creating repetitive patterns on little tiny 3.5 by 3.5 squares with a black pen and a pencil. Like, it couldn't be more basic and simple. And this one small process totally exploded in my heart, in my space, in my mind, reopening me to my own sense of myself as creative. And where that journey of drawing little tiny black and white drawings has led to this explosion of color into my life, and painting in large format and acrylics on canvas. But I still do the Zentangle process. I still love to color mandalas. I adore coloring books. Connor and I were actually creating a whole different plan that's yet to come. We're creating actually a deck of cards with the completed mandalas with money affirmations on them that'll be out sometime in 2018. But by the time he created all these beautiful mandalas, we're like, oh my gosh, we have a coloring book. And so this creative journey has impacted my family, my kids. And it's, I reached this point in my business where I'm like, okay, the business coaching is all right, but if I don't find a way to incorporate the creativity into it, it's going to be really boring for me, right? I needed a way to integrate everything into one coherent whole. And I actually have one sitting right here. People are watching on the video. This is my business plan. This is our one-page business plan model. It looks like a mandala. It's super colorful and playful. And I discovered that the more I integrated creativity into my own business planning processes and systems, the more fun I had, and the more likely I was to do the hard parts of my business, the parts I didn't want to do. I remember on our podcast interviewing one of our friends who's also an artist. She says she does her budget by hand every month with gel pens and glitter, and right, bringing playful processes to the aspects and areas of our lives that are hard, and remembering that we're all innately creative. Like, human beings are the most creative species on the planet, right? It's amazing what we're capable of, and creativity shows in many guises and forms. Art is just one form of creativity. It is by no means the only one, or even the most useful or sustainable one in a lot of ways. Writing is creative, music, film, photography, programming, software engineering, like the whole gaming industry right now that's just exploding is so creative. And it requires creative participation from the people who like to play online games. I'm not one of them, but it's a pretty creative process. So that may be a really long answer to your question, but creativity has been a total game changer in my life, and often in my clients' lives. Like, I didn't set out to remind people that they're creative, but it happens every time I host a live event. I have people like you and many others. I had one woman come and say, as a child, she grew up very poor. There was no paper, there were no crayons. And when there was paper and a few crayons, her mom was very stingy with them. Right. And she kept turning her paper over and trying to reuse the same sheet of paper. And I said to her, you can have as many pieces of paper as you want. What a huge transformation for her into a place of receiving and abundance. All of a sudden, she was going through sheet after sheet of paper and crayons and colors and markers, and it completely shifted everything. And now she has gone from this one moment of coloring mandalas and going through sheets of paper to painting and being an artist, all because I gave her permission to practice and to play.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think, as you were talking, one of the things that came to mind was a Bible verse that I had learned years ago was make a joyful noise unto the Lord. And when you were talking about the woman using colorful, right, using sparkles, using different pens. And so even though it wasn't creating a noise that we could hear, what came to my mind was create a joyful noise. Yeah. When we're creative, when we're using art and the different forms of creativity that you just mentioned, we are making this noise, whether it has sound or not.
Yes.
So when we wear color, when we're showing our art, when we're sharing our voice, we are making that joyful noise. And creativity, as you said, human beings are the most creative. We would not be recording video and audio without creativity of a human being. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have fire. We wouldn't have wheels. We wouldn't have anything that we do have if it wasn't for creativity. And I think that there's so many individuals through not understanding or having parents who didn't understand who were stifled.
Yes.
So we want that to come out. And I think in some ways it is us being grateful, looking at every gift, talent, skill that we have and being grateful for that no matter what.
It's so true. And one of the things I'm most grateful for is this amazing space I have now in my home where I get to work and make art in the same place. I have a beautiful view out my front window of the mountains and lots of light flowing in. And I am so grateful for the time and the space to be creative. And I make art and I practice creativity because it makes me happy. It's not a career, it's not a job, right? I do it because it's fun, right? And it brings life and joyful noise to my daily experience. And now I get really grumpy if I don't get the opportunity to make art. So it's really important to create that space. But I would say even committing to writing daily in the Live in Gratitude Daily Journal is a form of creativity. Just allowing the pen to flow through some stream of consciousness onto the page will nurture your creativity. It doesn't have to be this big fancy thing. It doesn't require fancy tools. It doesn't require anything more than maybe rating your kids, craft box for a box of Crayola crayons and a free printable mandala that you can find on the internet, or a beautiful journal like the one, Denise, that you created, and I'm so honored to be part of.
Well, thank you very much, Minette. And what our relationship has brought into my life and what has occurred since you and I've met over 2 years ago has just been amazing. And so I'm so thankful and grateful for you being part of my journey, and that we've had fun and creativity together. And I know that we will for many years to come. So as we come to a close, is there anything else that you would like to share, or a tip that anyone can use about gratitude? And also sharing, how can individuals contact you and find out more about what you do?
Awesome. Thank you for that. So the last tip I would share is, if you have a smartphone, to set a timer to go off on your smartphone 2 or 3 times during the day to remind you to pause and reflect on gratitude. People often ask, how do you get so much done? How do you accomplish so much? Well, I'm a workaholic. One thing, I love to work. But 2, I take advantage of the tools of technology around me. So right now in the morning in particular, at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., and 10 a.m., I have a little alarm that pops up on my phone, I have an iPhone, so using the iCalendar that says, how are your thoughts today? And it's this super simple reminder to pause, to say, how am I feeling right now? So that it really sets my whole day up for a much more positive experience. Or if I'm not feeling great, I can spend a few moments exploring, well, what's the real truth of this story and how I'm feeling right now? And what can I do to shift that energy so that I'm in a better space? So use technology to support you in your gratitude practice. And then I'm trying to think of a fun way. I'm super easy to find. If you Google Minette Riordan, Riordan, I am all over the internet, but one of the most fun places to connect would be on Facebook. We have a free Facebook group called Money, Meditation, and Mandalas, where we share a 21-day practice for coloring mandalas to bring more abundance into your life. It's super fun and playful. It's totally free. I have lots of free printable mandalas that we share. And I am a Facebook junkie, just like Denise is. And so I would say go check it out. Money, Meditation, and Mandalas Facebook group.
Well, thank you for that, Minette. So to connect with Minette and to color mandalas and to have tips on money and meditation, on Facebook, it's Money, Meditation, and Mandalas. And also to learn more about Live in Gratitude Daily, join our public Facebook group, Live in Gratitude Daily. So I thank you, Minette. I'm very, very grateful for having you in my life. Thank you for joining me today. And thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. And so if you have questions, comments, contact us. Join our groups so that we can support you in your creativity and in your gratitude.
Thanks so much for having me, Denise. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to Live in Gratitude Daily with Denise Joy. Join us every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern on Global Voice Radio.